As we continue honoring all the people who sacrificed their lives to protect our country, this Veterans Day is extra special for a Savannah resident who has written a book detailing his grandfather's experience serving during World War I. Author of Your Father's Forgotten Heroes, Orrin Turner, is here to tell us more about his book that is releasing this week. Good morning. How are you doing?
Great. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
First, I want to thank you for your service as you are currently serving in the Army. But I, of course, want to talk about your grandfather. Tell me more about him.
So he initially enlisted at 15 and went off to war at 16 to World War I with the 7th Engineers. And one thing that's so incredible about the story is that the 7th Engineers, nobody really knows about them, and nobody really remembers them from history. They just remember like the infantry, what the infantry did to secure things, but it was the engineers that were cutting the wire to get them through the German obstacles, and they put up the wire to keep the Germans out, and then they built the dugouts for the artillery strikes and all of that. So it's really incredible, and like they built a 500 building hospital complex, so those wounded were actually taken back to somewhere that the engineers built.
And you know most of this because he left journals behind, right?
Yes, so he left a journal, journaling almost his entire time in the service. It was detailed with the cities, kind of what happened in those places, and what the people he lost and the people that were there with him. So,
going through these journals, is that what, after just reading his story, is that what inspired you to write this book?
It did. So initially when I found out about the journal when I was a child, I thought he was actually in World War II.
Wow.
And then I found out it was much earlier in World War I and that he was only 15 when he enlisted. So it sparked a total new interest in it, and it really got me to start researching all the different places that he talked about and the unit that he was a part of. And in his lineage, in the lineage of the engineers, he actually stood up the 7th Engineers in Washington, D.C.
After writing this book, reading his journals, really kind of being transported into a time that he lived, being 15-year-old, serving in World War I, do you think you have a different appreciation for Veterans Day now?
I think that I do. I had an appreciation before with having served and my father serving and that, but knowing just what people sacrificed in war, especially back then, it just gave me a totally different perspective.
And as far as your grandfather, do you think he'd be proud of you for, taking on this journey and wanting to share his story?
I believe he would. I think that he left the journals for someone to read them and someone to pass along his story. So.
All right, details on the book. Where can we find it? What
So
day is it dropping?
It is will be available Wednesday, which super excited about, and it will. You just have to Google Your Father's Forgotten Heroes, and it will come up on Walmart Plus, Barnes and Noble, and Amazon in 3 different formats with the hardcover, paperback, and digital. And you can choose your preferred retailer.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for writing this book and turning his journals into something we all can read and learn more about, just experiencing that time in World War I. And happy Veterans Day to him, your father, soon you. And I think it's just awesome that it's a generational thing with you all. It's great.
Yes, it's really amazing. And one last thing, I'd like people to think about talking to veterans and things, and you never know their story until you actually speak with them and find out what it is that they did. So
yeah, that's a good piece to take with us. Thank you so much, Orrin, for joining us.